Here's the smartest foreign diplomat in the world saying, oh, the U.S. wants peace and Europe wants war. Cut number 13.
После вот этого
After Joe Biden, new people have come into power who are guided by common sense. They say outright that they want to end all wars. They want peace. Who demands a continuation of the war? Europe.
If you could ask him anything, what would you ask him?
Ask Lavrov?
Yes.
I'm not sure what I'd ask him. I think it's very clear what Lavrov's views are on all of these issues. I have no need to ask him any questions. I just hope that he and Marco Rubio or Steve Witkoff, whoever he works with, are able to work out a deal that is as favorable to the Ukrainians as possible. I mean, I think, as I've said to you before, the Ukrainians are going to get a bad deal no matter what. I'd just like to see them get the best deal possible. And hopefully, Lavrov and Putin will be able to work out a deal with Witkoff, Rubio, and Trump that works to the Ukrainians' advantage, at least to some extent.
But this is going to be a deal made between Russia and the United States. Zelensky's not going to be at the negotiating table.
No, I don't think Zelensky will be at the negotiating table, nor will the Europeans. I think that Trump and the Russians will work out a deal. And then the question is, will Ukraine accept that deal? And will the British accept that deal? I mean, we're in this bizarre situation where Donald Trump wants peace. And he wants to improve relations with the Russians. And he wants to help create a security architecture in Europe so everybody can prosper and we don't have any more war. This is Trump's goal. Whether you like Trump or not.
I wish he had the same goal in the Middle East. He apparently does not, but we've been through that.
Yeah, he doesn't, and we know why. But the point is, we know what he wants to do in Europe. He's not a warmonger.
Right.
He's the peacemonger in this case. But
yet, if you were to say, or if I were to say to Sergei Lavrov, why do you think the Americans hate the Russians? How do you think he would answer?
Well, I think he would probably point to some of the same factors that we point to. Number one, the fact that the Russians have stood up to the Americans, first in Georgia in 2008. And second, over Ukraine. Second, he understands full well that we blame, or many Americans blame Russia for the fact that Trump won in 2016 and that Hillary Clinton lost. And I think he also understands that there is an ideological disagreement between Russia on one side and the United States on the other side. At least as it applies to the Democratic Party, and that has to do with the whole issue of LGBTQ. They're just fundamental differences on those sorts of issues. So I think he'd point to the same issues we do.
I can remember as a child in grade school being taught to demonize Nikita Khrushchev. I don't know if you remember those days. We're about the same age. It was like you were supposed to hate Khrushchev.
Absolutely. I mean, the difference between then and now was that you had a wicked ideological dimension to the competition. It was communism versus liberal democracy. It was communism versus capitalism. And they were seeing the communists as the font of all evil. And of course, Khrushchev was in the 1950s the head of the Soviet Union. He was the arch villain. And we were brought up to believe that we should loathe him, if not hate him. And you don't have exactly that situation today because the Soviet Union is not, Russia is not a communist state. But you do have an ideological dimension to this conflict. Some of it has to do with the fact that Putin is seen as a soft autocrat, and we are seen as liberal Democrats. And some of it has to do with social issues like LGBTQ and whether or not the United States is a Christian nation or Russia is a Christian nation. These issues matter for fueling the hostility between the two sides. And I think what Trump is interested in doing is ameliorating these ideological tensions as much as possible and establishing good relations between the United States and Russia.
Professor Mearsheimer, just like all of our conversations, scintillating, challenging, and informative.